once you apply it to the tooth structure, you want to rub it vigorously on the dentin enamel for about 15 to 30 seconds. And here we are on the patient, and we're going to go ahead and apply it. And we're going to apply it to all of our margins, and then we're going to apply it to the dentin as well. So don't be conservative with this. You want to get a large amount of bonding agent, the A and B primer. There's no additional etching that's necessary with Multilink. You do not need to etch the enamel. The manufacturer recommends that you don't do this, so we're simply going to use the A and B primer. This is a relatively retentive prep already, and so we should have a good result with this. So I'm fairly liberal with the application. I apply it on this particular patient. This is part of a full mouth rehab that we're doing in sections. This is an EMAX case. The teeth to the distal is a bridge that we're waiting from the laboratory, and so that's in a temporary currently. We've applied the bonding agent, we've applied the A and B, now we're simply going to air dry it. You want to remove all of the excess, make sure it's not pooling anywhere, and once you've air dried, have the patient hold still, and then load your crown with the Multilink Automix. And once you load it with the Multilink Automix, there's a self-mixing tip that's available, and we'll go ahead and apply the tip and insert the Multilink Automix into the crown, and you want to, get a decent amount of cement in there. You don't want any voids or porosities or anything. And I'll sometimes take a brush and just make sure that we're well adapted inside the crown. We'll go ahead and take that crown now back to the patient, and we'll seat that restoration. You should have cement oozing from all margins. And be liberal with the excess. Then my assistant comes in with a curing light, tacks it for about 1 second on the buckle, and you'll see I typically will use a scaler, and that cement just peels off. And that's the nice thing. You've got to get this cement cleaned up at the right time. Now, most of the time, we'll do the buckle and the lingual, or you can just do the buckle. The Multilink Easy gives you more working time. So this is the same technique we would use with the regular Multilink, but what a lot of users found was that if you're doing multiple restorations, sometimes it just set up a little too quickly. So the Multilink Easy gives you more working time. It's even easier. You can see I'm kind of used to the 1 second cure with the old system. With the new one, it's still, the 1 second doesn't quite set it up with the light. So here, once I've done that initial tack cure, we'll floss real quick. And remember, that's a provisional on the distal. And once we floss, make sure our contacts are open, we'll come in, and now you want to come in with a curing light and cure it for about 20 seconds. And once you cure it for about 20 seconds on the buckle and the lingual, this will set up the cement completely. Now I've packed a small piece of cord. It's a 000 cord that we've placed in the sulcus to keep that area clean. And we'll have the patient, just stay open while we go ahead and remove all of the excess. I personally like using a scaler. Some people like using explorers. It's really doesn't really matter. I just like the scaler because it allows me to just get those big chunks off very easily. So we're using the scaler. We're removing the gross excess here. We've already flossed. We've done a large amount of our curing. And here we go on the distal, and we're just removing the large bits and pieces of cement that are removed. Once you've cleaned the restoration with the cement, and once you've removed all of the excess, then you can go ahead and check your occlusion, verify that all is well. And so the process is very simple. You get very high bond strengths in the 30 to 40 megapascal range. And again, it's a very easy system to use as long as you do it properly. Now, in this next case, we've got 2 restorations that we're going to be cementing at once, and then we'll do the third one. Here's the patient in some provisionals. He's had those for a number of months, and here's the preparations underneath. I've used a laser to access my margins. And now we're ready to go ahead and try in our restorations. We've milled these out with the EMAX material again. So here's the first restoration. Here's the second one. We're going to cement the first 2 while the third one's still milling and crystallizing. And once the restorations are seated, we'll verify the margins. We'll verify the contacts, make sure they snap nicely. As you can see, that it does snap nicely. And once we've done this, we'll go ahead and prepare our porcelain as we indicated earlier. We'll clean the teeth. We'll clean the restorations. We'll hydrofluoric acid etch the restorations. And we'll go ahead and apply our monobond S to the internal and the EMAX. Once we've gone ahead and done that, we'll go ahead and clean our preparation. So we're going to do the 2 premolars, and we'll do the molar at a separate time, independent of these first 2, because we're just taking advantage of the time that that third restoration is being milled and crystallized. So I'm using a little bit of peroxide. You could use some alcohol here just to clean off the teeth, make sure there's no residue left on these preparations. We've already gone ahead and lasered the sulcus, so there's no tissues that's in the way. There's no hemorrhaging or anything like that. All that's completely clean. We'll give that area a nice rinse. We've gone ahead and mixed the A and B primer, and now I'm going to apply the A and B primer to the teeth. Now, again, we're going to be very liberal with this. We're going to go ahead and apply the A and B on all of our restoration, being careful not to get it on that molar because we're going to be applying it later there. And very carefully, I apply to the margins, I apply to the occlusal surface, and we'll go ahead and make sure everything's covered. And once we do this, once we apply the bonding agent, the A and B bonding agent, I'll air dry this completely. You don't want to have a thick layer of bonding agent. You only need a very thin layer. So we'll go ahead and apply the A and B, take our air water syringe, make sure there's no moisture in there, and aggressively thin that out, blow away all the excess. And you'll notice it takes about 15 to 20 seconds. My assistant has loaded the first restoration, and we'll go ahead and seat this. He'll kind of place this on the tooth, and then I'll seat it all the way. And again, you can see the excess. You can see the cement that's all over. You want to have oozing of the cement from all the margins. And now my assistant will come in, and we'll go ahead and just tack that in place. Just a couple of seconds, maybe a second with the regular Multilink, maybe about 2 or 3 seconds with the Multilink Easy. You can see we need just a couple more seconds. You do have quite a bit of working time here. And once you gel cure that, you'll notice that cement just peels right off. It's just so easy to use. It just comes off in chunks. And we'll remove that excess, and we'll do the same thing to the lingual. And once we do that, we'll go ahead and floss our restorations. and make sure that we are able to remove all of the interproximal cement. So the cementation process just takes a couple of minutes when you have your technique down. So A and B primer, which is nice, is a no rinse system, so you don't end up causing any sensitivity because you don't have to rinse any of the etchant off, and that's typically the cause of sensitivity in a lot of bonding cases. And because it's a no rinse system, it's just an A and B primer, which is basically our bonding agent, our self-etching bonding agent, and then we use the cement on top of it, the regular multi-link or the multi-link easy. And as you can see, just the big chunks just come off very, very easily. So we've removed and we've done the majority of our cleanup. Because we removed the big chunks, our flossing is very easy. There's no interproximal restorations anywhere, and we're able to finish the patient. And now we'll go ahead and do our final cure, make sure these restorations are cured. Because this is Emax, we have the ability to use a traditional cement, meaning we can go ahead and use glass ionomer if we want to. You could technically use Duralon or zinc phosphate because the Emax material is so strong. But as you can see, with the ease of multi-link, and especially with the ease of multi-link easy, I really don't see any reason to not use a resin cement such as multi-link, which is going to give me such high bond strengths. I mean, I will have the ability to get 30 to 40 megapascals